Welcome back to Credit, Finance, and Investing. And on today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about the treat yourself culture. And this will probably be part of the series where we discuss how much treating yourself, especially if it's consistently and maybe a little bit over, how much it can cost you over the time when you look at it if it were an investment. So there's nothing wrong with treating yourself in moderation, especially if you're celebrating some sort of a win or a achievement or a milestone in your life. Where we get into trouble is where it's too consistent, where it's almost the norm as opposed to a treat. Now, what we want to do is on this channel is talk about making sure we're not making guardrail to guardrail changes also, because those are typically not sustainable. However, if we make little tweaks, little course corrections, those are usually sustainable over the course of our lives. So in this particular instance, I wanted to talk about maybe the little things that we're doing on a daily basis and not realizing how it adds up. And let me turn on my screen, and the first thing I wanted to talk about was the daily drink, whether it be a cup of coffee, an energy drink, or maybe something else, maybe a tea or a special, even a smoothie or a shake that we're getting on a daily basis, and how the cost of those can play out if we look at it were that money to be invested. So this is from a website called greenlight.com, and it discusses the average cup of coffee costing $4.90. And what I would do on something like this is just assume that we're doing on a work day, not necessarily on the weekends. So if we were to take $4.90 and do 20 work days per month, because of course you have the weekends, and usually a work month you have 21 days, that would be $98 per month. Now, what if you say, well, I don't drink coffee, I do an energy drink. Okay, well, let's go to Maverick, which is of course a very popular gas station, and you have Bang, Monster, Red Bull, and all are sitting around $3. Let's just use Monster because I tend to see that one more often. And let's say $3.29 times 20 days, we're looking at $65.80. So let's just use 65. You've seen me do this before. I come into the nerdwallet.com website. This is their investment calculator. And let's just look at the overall cost of what a Monster energy drink at $3.29 would cost you. So let's put this in at $65 a month because it will not let me put it in at anything less, or it won't let me put decimal points in. I have this in at 30 years currently. Let's drop that down to 10 just so we can get a sense of what's going on. And I'm using an expected rate of return of 10%. Why 10%? Well, if you look at the S&P average, the S&P average over the last 20 years has averaged 10.2%. So we'll just sit at 10%. Now you could come in and you could look at the 40-year average, the 30-year average, the 50-year average, and there's a whole lot of numbers. So for example, 50 years is actually higher, and 10 years I want to say is lower, but let's just use 10%. It's a good round number. Over the course of 10 years, that would equate to $13,000 that you would have for investable money. If we took that out over 20 years, it turns into almost $50,000. And if we took it out over 30 years, it's $146,000. What's really interesting here is if you look down at these lines, the blue line is the actual money you're saving. The green line is the interest that you're making on that. And it's been said, I don't know who it's attributed to. I think I've heard it attributed to a bunch of different people, but one of the wonders of the world is compound interest. So if you look here, if we go out 30 years, at $65 a month, you would have saved $23,000 is all that you would have saved in actual principal. However, the interest equates to $123,000 extra dollars that you could pocket towards retirement, towards a home, towards whatever it is that you want to do. Let's take this one step further and let's talk about eating out. Sometimes it's more convenient just to grab lunch while you're out, and usually it's only a couple dollars. So this is from a website called Accredited Debt Relief, and they help people who are in debt get out of debt. And there's a Visa survey that talks about people spending on average $2,746 on lunch spending. And then according to data collected by another company, Numbeo, the average person eating fast food would spend $8 per person per day on lunch. Now, I've been in fast food restaurants lately, and I don't think you're getting a full meal for $8, but let's just say that that's accurate. Let's bring the handy calculator back up, and let's say $8 times, again, 20 days per month, $160 per month, which is very affordable for a lot of people, that you would be spending on lunch. Now, let's say you eliminated that, and let's add it to the amount that we have here already, the $65. So 160 plus 65 would be $225. So if we bring that back down here, let's put in 225, and over 10 years, that equates to $46,000. Now again, of that, the principal is only $27,000 over 10 years. Still, it seems like a lot of money when you start putting it that way. Let's take that out over 20 years, $170,000, and over 30 years, that's $508,000 in lost opportunity costs or investment that you could have simply by bringing your own lunch, skipping energy drinks. Now, would we be okay if we got half of that? $250,000? Absolutely. And then again, looking down here, you start to see where compounding interest really makes a huge difference. Come out to the year 2039, the total principal that you've saved is $40,000. Significant, not necessarily life-changing if you plan on living on that money, but the interest is $52,000. And as you go out 30 years, you would have saved in principal $81,000, but the interest is $427,000. So just little changes that we could make in our lives can equate to huge differences as we get down the road. $500,000 can go a long way towards retirement, supplementing Social Security income, or if you want to make other investments in it, such as buying property, investing in other assets, or starting a business, all from little changes that we may make in our lives. If you found this helpful, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. If the content is helpful, please feel free to share, like, or subscribe. Thank you.